So what I wanted to chat about today was obviously AI is the big buzz, right? Everyone is like on about AI and AI is going to change the world and all that kind of stuff. And I want to chat more specifically about AI in factories. And I think AI in factories is going to be a lot more complex than what people think. I think the best analogy I've seen is that a lot of people, the way they are trying to adopt AI in a factory is almost like this golden roof on a shack. So you have a very shaky foundation in your factory, and then you want to put all of these golden roofs, shiny things on top of that. And if you keep putting on these systems on top of your shaky foundation production lines, eventually the shack's going to come crumbling down and you're going to have nothing. What I want to do today is illustrate, if you're going to adopt AI, that you have to take a foundational view first, get the foundation right, and then put the smart tech on top of that. If you just put the smart tech on a shaky foundation, it's going to come crumbling down. So one of the biggest challenges, I call it the fragmentation tax, is this idea, and specifically I'm going to talk about assembly lines. If you look at this picture over here, you see a whole series of functions stacked up on top of each other that need to be performed on an assembly line. If you want to make a good quality product off your assembly line, you need to perform all of these things. Everything from talking to the hardware, worker guidance, rework management, the build queue, traceability, analytics platforms. And obviously on the right-hand side, as you see over here, there's all of the maintenance topics, the documentation, 5S and lean. So a lot of functions that need to be performed on an assembly line. So, and in today's environment, there are many vendors that are available that actually solve these particular problems at the different layers. And if you look at the landscape today, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of vendors that can solve a lot of these problems. But the challenge is integrating all of these things together. And this is what I call the fragmentation tax. So the effort and time required to connect all of these systems together is massive. On average, it costs an end customer 30% more money, 30% more time to try and string all of these things together. And I've listed a whole series of challenges around this. But the main challenge I want to focus on today is this disconnected and disparate data systems. Because obviously AI, the key to AI is good data equals good AI. And because you have these disparate systems and different functions, not only do you have high cost and inflexibility, you have disconnected systems and data that is completely disparate. And that is the fundamental problem that we have with adopting AI on factories today. And I think you have to take a foundational view first, and I'd like to share with you how we are adopting this foundational view on assembly lines to prepare ourselves correctly with the right foundation for AI into the future. So we've created a solution called Odin Workstation, and basically what we call this is an operating system for assembly lines. And there's three main modules within Odin Workstation. The first one is the configuration module, and this is probably the most important and underrated module in this whole solution. This is the module, as you see over here. It's a web-based application that allows an industrial engineer to log onto the system and actually configure the line. So everything from the bill of materials, bill of process, assigning a particular process or operation to a device. So it could be a tightening tool where you'd configure the program number, configure the IP address. So it's a complete configuration tool on how you want this production line to actually behave. And because it's no code, it's completely accessible. Basically, the no code interface is driving settings inside a database. And I'll come back to why that's important in a minute. But after that configuration is done, essentially what we've created is a digital twin. And I don't like buzzwords, but essentially this is a digital twin. So it is a digital representation of what this production line or assembly line needs to do. So from what happens in station 1 to station 2 to station 3, what are the devices, what are the settings for each of those devices, and it could be a completely manual station, a fully automatic station, or a semi-automated station, doesn't really matter. It is the digital representation of what this line should do. The third module is what we call the enforcement module. So how do we ensure that the process that is being configured inside the configuration module is enforced on the production line? And there's three ways we do that. The one is through worker guidance, so telling the operator in every single station what to do and how to do it using visual codes. The second part of that, which is really the most critical part, is the fact that we're able to connect to the hardware. So not only are we displaying an image to the operator to fit a particular component, there may be a camera connected to that particular operation that confirms that that step has been done. And if the step hasn't been done, then we don't allow the process to continue. And that's the critical part of connecting worker guidance to the physical hardware in that particular station that is enforcing the process to be done. The third part of this is using computer vision. So this is using our AI computer vision to control the sequence of a bolting tool. So creating AI modules of devices or objects inside the station. For example, a barcode scanner, making sure the barcode scanner is in the right position, making sure the bolting tool is being followed in the correct sequence, the bolting pattern is being followed in the right sequence, making sure that the clamps are closed before a particular operation happens. So all of this is controlled by the computer vision cameras and what we call AI Pokio. And this is the main sort of high-level overview of what we call the enforcement layer. So we tell the line what to do, the hardware confirms and executes what was done, we get the data back to confirm that, and then we basically have the last module, which is what we call validate. And this is very interesting because there's a lot of quality management systems that are on the market today that basically are added on top of the production line, and they try to suck information as to whether the process has been good or bad. But what is fundamentally missed with most of these systems, they don't know what was expected and planned from the beginning. But we have this from the configuration module. So I know what was planned, I know what we did from the enforcement module, and so it becomes very easy for me to validate. And that is the crux to the future of AI inside of factories, that we're able to have the full contextual data that allows us to that enables our models to understand the context fully of this particular production line, which then allows us to do a lot more things after that. So that's the high-level overview of the foundational phase of an assembly line. So let me dive into a little bit about the AI side of things. So as this slide says, good data equals good agents. And the foundation that we've built with Odin Workstation provides that high quality, high fidelity, quality data that is perfectly suited for the maximum use of AI. So our roadmap is as follows. So we started this journey a good couple of years ago with the main solution that I've already described, this connect and control. So configure, connect, control element. The next module is the see and validate. So using the computer vision to actually validate and make sure that the process is done correctly. And then we transform all of this data into useful insights that customers use today to understand granular analytics. So which are my bottleneck stations? Which are my variable stations? Which are, what is the live CPK that's going on a production line? And so we have this real granular data that is displayed to customers using insights. And the combination of this foundational element workstation together with insights enables us to provide the contextually rich, high quality data for the next leap that we want to take. And this is the think and optimize leap, or the agentic leap. And the idea around the agentic leap is that we want to build out agents that are basically human-like, and hence we call them Tom, Dick, and Sally, that enable that enable customers, that enable people on the shop floor, everyone from operator to CEO, to engage with this information and the data in a human-like way using large language models. So, for example, the vision that we have for Sally is that every morning on a typical production line, there's a morning huddle where the team leader would call a group of operators together. They'd stand in front of a board with a bunch of paper, and they'd kind of plan out what they need to do for the day. And we want to replace that whiteboard or whatever it is that they have with an agent called Sally. And Sally will actually run the meeting. So Sally completely understands what happened in the night shift, completely understands what worked, what didn't work in the night shift and the previous shifts. Sally knows what the targets are going to be for the rest of the day. And so Sally can actually run the meeting and highlight to the team, for example, the target for today is 500 parts in an 8-hour shift. We see a lot of quality issues that we experienced last night on station 50. Please be aware, John, because you're running station 50 today, of this particular quality issue that happened last night. And this is the power of introducing large language models and connecting them to the right kind of data and humanizing them, and even having Sally run that morning meeting is the vision that we have. And then finally, the last part of this to make it fully agentic is the feedback loop. So because I've been able to understand what the line is able to do, where the problems are, I can then determine improvements or optimize settings, for example, that need to be applied onto the production line to solve for example, quality or productivity. And as I mentioned earlier, because I have a data-driven production line and I have a data structure, it's very easy from a technology perspective for us to change the settings on the production line. And because it's all data-driven, the moment I change those settings, the line behavior changes instantly. So for example, if I see there's a lot of failures on a particular tightening operation, and the agent sort of determines that maybe we should slow down the tightening tool by 10%, I can automatically change those settings because I have all of that in a data model and lower the speed by 10% and see what the outcome is. And then it can measure the outcome and then feed back the loop, and maybe we can increase it by a little more because the quality was better, and now we want to solve for cycle time as an example. So this is the journey that we've got from all the way from Connect to this complete closed loop manufacturing, or agentic manufacturing as we call it. And I'd like to close off with a little bit of a demo. So I'm going to bring out my phone and I'm going to ask Sally a couple of questions. So, hey Sally, please can you tell me how production is going today?
Good afternoon, this is Sally. Our focus is hitting our 96-second tack time today. Here's the status. Throughput status. We are at 534 unique parts completed for the day, putting us at 98.89% of our 540 part target. Primary bottleneck, STN 310. L-shaft ASCII scan. This process is running too slow. Instability warning, STN 180. Bolting EDL connector. This station is showing erratic performance and could crash the line soon. Action. Investigate flow/material presentation here.
So, I mean, that's Sally responding, but I think the power of these large language models is even more than that. So I'm going to, for example, pretend that I'm a junior quality engineer, and this is actually a differential assembly line data. And I'm going to ask a little bit more of the product information. So let me ask Tom a question. Hey, Tom, I'm a junior quality engineer that's just joined the company. I don't know much about differentials. Please, can you give me a short overview of what a differential is, as well as the key things I need to look out for on the production line as it is today?
Hello, Tom here. Welcome to the team. Since you're new to the world of differentials, think of them as the math geniuses of the drivetrain. Their job is to allow wheels on the same axle to rotate at different speeds, essential for when a vehicle turns, as the outside wheel has to travel a longer distance than the inside one. Without it, the tires would scrub and the axle would snap. I've run the quality scan for today, October 16th. To keep this line running right, here is your critical process alert. Failure point, STN 110. Run out gauging, station 110. The data, the rolling CPK, is at 0.70. This means the process is failing our basic 0.8 threshold for stability. Diagnosis and action. This isn't just a slow drift. The measured values are showing high variability against our tight tolerances. This often indicates a hard sensor failure or broken tooling in the gauging nest. Immediate action. Halt the station and verify the gauge calibration. Would you like me to pull the specific measurement logs for station 110 so you can see exactly how far we are drifting?
Yes, please.
Hello, Tom here. I've pulled the granular data for you to review. Here is the measurement log from the last few parts on this morning's shift for STN 110. Run out gauging. Part 78,471 to 0.0407 millimeter. Part 78,468 to 0.0718 millimeter.
So as you can see, not only does it give high-level overview information to, for example, a CEO and general production numbers, but it can actually go really deep for a junior engineer and give actual values from the production line itself. And I think this is only enabled by having the right foundation and building up from the foundation up. Trying to adopt AI top-down will only cost you a lot of money and you won't get the right value out of the whole system. If you want to know more about it, reach out. Here's another Thursday Thought.